Hello and welcome to Updog Sports Talk. If you are joining us for the first time, we here at Updog Sports Talk, we deliver honest, fan-focused coverage that spotlights the teams, the players, and communities that are often overlooked by mainstream sports media. We do this because your team has a story worth telling. Today, we are going to be looking at Conference USA. This is a thrilling conference where it feels like parity just reigns, and the margins between each of the teams is so small. Those weeknight Conference USA games that we see during October are always such a blast, but this conference is fun to watch even on Saturdays throughout the year as well. So, very much looking forward to diving into each of these teams. For this show, I'll be going team by team, looking at what are the biggest pieces to be excited about, is potentially one of their bigger concerns that potentially could arise throughout the year. And then what does success look like for that team in 2026? We'll go through all of those. And then at the end of the episode, I will go over a sleeper pick for the conference and then a conference championship pick. So tune in, check it out, and enjoy the show. So we'll be starting off here with the Delaware Blue Hens. Delaware joined the FBS level last year and they succeeded immediately. Delaware found their way to a bowl game, winning that bowl game. And I think their fans are very much enjoying this FBS move. But now this year, they're looking to follow that trend of the second year Conference USA teams winning the conference. We've seen that the last 2 years, Delaware is looking to be a third in that category. So one of the biggest strengths I see for them is very much getting your quarterback back in Nick Minicucci. He is a very fun quarterback. He is very efficient, can run really well, and he just does such a great job leading this offense. He is the top quarterback returning in the conference. I'll say that right off the bat. And there's a lot of good pieces around him, too. You've got the running backs led by Joe Silver. You got Wilson at receiver. So there's really just a lot to like about how this offense is going to look. And you can expect that this team can continue to make the adjustments to the FBS level. But maybe one of the bigger concerns for Delaware is going to be that defensive front. We saw a lot of times last year where the Blue Hens kind of got taken advantage of up front a little bit, and teams realized they could stop their offense from taking the field and control the game by running the ball really just up the middle and, kind of wear down their defense a little bit. So Delaware is going to need to find a way to get better against the run this year. And so far, looking at the roster, I don't think size is going to be the answer because there aren't those 300-pound guys in there to plug up the holes. So they will need to get creative and find better ways to stop the run this year. But in terms of what success looks like, this is still a program that is implementing themselves at the FBS level, but I think improving and being in the race for the Conference USA Championship will be key. They will need to get through what is actually like a pretty difficult schedule this year. Their non-conference has a lot of tough challenges in it, including a game against Virginia. So they'll need to get through that. But as long as they're in the Conference USA race, obviously the hope is they could follow that trend to be the second year Conference USA team to win the conference. But realistically, like even if they make the Conference USA championship, I think fans will be very happy with that and at least be in the race. Show that this is going to be a program to be reckoned with in Conference USA each year. So that's what I'm looking forward to with Delaware, and I definitely enjoyed this program. I visited their stadium earlier this offseason, and that was pretty cool. But yeah, I think this could be a pretty good year for Delaware. So we move on to the next team here, the FIU Panthers. FIU is just continuing to work to be this cool program. I think there's a Vice Night, Pitbull sponsorship at Pitbull Stadium. All of that, really the only thing that was lacking for them was actually winning ball games. And we started to see that change last year. Willie Simmons came in and brought them to a bowl right away. Now they're looking to take that next step. So, really, what I'm most excited about is just seeing year two under Willie Simmons. The improvement he made in 1 year was impressive. Now, let's see how much better his team is even in year two. He is an excellent coach and really a rising coach throughout the ranks here. So, just continuing to recruit Florida, a very deep recruiting state, is going to continue to help him there. I look at the run game to still be really good, and there's a lot of promising pieces on this defense. I forgot to mention on the top of the show, but we have a preview series up on our Substack as well. So you can kind of read more up on this team, looking at those and the rest of the teams here on the list. But that's definitely a lot to like about this team. One of the bigger concerns is we just need to see this team look a little more consistent. They had some really great weeks last year, but then you had other games where it just felt like they were far too sloppy, making too many mistakes, turning the ball over too often, all of that. So they really need, if you're looking to take the next step, like, you need to be more consistent week in and week out. So that's what I am hoping we'll see Willie Simmons and that staff challenge the team to be. So that's going to be a huge key for the Panthers. And really for them, success looks like getting a step further. Like last year was just making it to a bowl. Now this year, being a more serious contender towards the top of the conference is going to be key. This is a team that has the upside to compete for a conference title. But I think the big thing is just looking good, maybe winning 8 games, at least a winning record, and can feel pretty successful about that. But definitely there's not much off the table for FIU this year. So I think it's a very exciting year for Panthers fans. And I mean, there are a lot of teams in this conference that have a bunch of promise. So this is definitely one of them. So make sure you tune in to Vice Night at Pitbull Stadium and the other FIU games throughout the year, because this team is going to be pretty fun to watch. Next on the list, we get to Jacksonville State, the Gamecocks. They have been excellent pretty much since moving up to the FBS level. And with them winning Conference USA in 2024, last year get back to the CUSA title, and they were even in the race in their first year in 2023. It is becoming very much apparent that Jacksonville State is one of the elite programs in this conference. I think usually people look at Western Kentucky as kind of one of the standard teams that are always going to be in the conference title race, but we are talking enough about Jacksonville State as one of those teams. They are definitely a true contender every single year at this point. They had Rich Rod, and he did an excellent job there, really built a strong culture. And I think some people wondered that could continue with Charles Kelly. And I think last year was a resounding, okay, this culture is going to continue. And I had a feeling that was going to happen. Charles Kelly is an old school, football loving coach like Rich Rod is. Sure, Kelly is more of a defensive minded coach, but I think he knew what this program was doing to be successful. And it just works very well when all pieces move in the right direction. Like, you even had an offensive coordinator last year who was more in the air raid offense, but completely adapted his style to the personnel that Jacksonville State tends to bring in. And I think we're going to see that again. They are going to continue to run at a fast tempo and just run the ball straight in your face and see if you can hold up to it for 4 quarters. That is what this team will do. Their run game, even with Cam Cook gone, is going to be excellent once again. They also have a quarterback and Caden Creel back. He will prove to be an excellent runner last year as well. If I'm remembering correctly, he went over 1,000 yards. So he is back to lead this offense. He'll need to take a little bit of a step forward when it comes to accuracy, but I think already he is looking like a good quarterback. So getting him back is definitely a huge key. We don't have a lot of teams in this conference that bring the same quarterback back in 2025. So having one returning is huge for any team. So, and that's kind of the situation we have with Jacksonville State here. And on the defensive side of the ball, Charles Kelly has his defensive quarterback in linebacker Max Sanders. And the offensive line, this is one of the most experienced O-lines in the sport. We don't talk about offensive lines a lot when it comes to previews. So we at Updog Sports Talk we try to look at those, and I think a lot of times it gets undersold how important an experienced offensive line is. So the fact that Jacksonville State has one of the most experienced ones looks very promising for this program. So that's what I really like about this team. One of the biggest concerns is I want to see this team look a little better on the road this year. Not just I want to, but they are going to need to play better on the road this year. Jacksonville State last year they were 3-1 in the road in the conference, but that is because they won 3 one-score games against the teams that finished bottom 3 in the standings. So they got really fortunate with the road draw, and then the only team that finished towards above that bottom 3, FIU, beat them on the road. This year, their road schedule is going to be a lot more difficult. They are playing more of the top contenders on the road. So Jacksonville State will need to do a better job winning those games and really just in general bringing that show on the road. They're going to need to play better there. In terms of what success looks like, they won the championship in 2024, made it to the championship game in 2025. This is kind of a program that has a standard at this point that they're going to make it to the CUSA championship. And I feel like at this point for them, their expectations are high. And that's what the coaching staff wants. They want fans to expect winning, and that's exactly what we have here. So winning the Conference USA championship is what success looks like. Anything short of that is a little bit disappointing for this team. So, I mean, watch out for this team. Definitely, I can hint that I'm going to be mentioning him again later on. But mentioning Conference USA championships, we actually go to the defending champions, the Kennesaw State Owls. Jerry Mack came in and just really evolved this team in year one. He did an excellent job here, and I really like him and his coaching staff. It felt like last year they kind of coached circles around teams and really just made the right adjustments and knew how to win these tight games. Because again, like the gap between teams in this conference is not large, and coaching can make a huge difference. And that's what we saw with this team. So that gives me confidence in the Owls again this year. However, one of the bigger concerns for this team is going to be this is going to be a pretty new roster this year. Last year, there was actually quietly a decent amount of continuity. This year, you're starting with a whole lot of new parts. I trust what the staff is going to do with those parts, but there's always uncertainty of that. And then the quarterback position in general is one of the areas I'm kind of looking at and wondering how it's going to look, because Amari Odom proved to be a star for them last year. And even Dexter Williams, the backup, did an excellent job. He's gone as well. So you're now putting pressure on, hoping that Syracuse transfer Ricky Collins can be the guy. And last year, we didn't see that at Syracuse. He struggled in that role, and we saw Syracuse fall off pretty hard with him. So the burden of proof is on Collins because he now gets another shot, but he'll need to take advantage of it. Otherwise, we'll need to see another unproven caller take the helm here and keep this team at a championship level. So I think in terms of success, this is another program that's probably expecting to win the Conference USA championship again. I mean, they won it last year. They're going to be looking to do it again. Now, I've noticed that they're projected a little bit lower. So I think if they maybe if they're still in the race, but they don't make the Conference USA championship, the pitchforks are not going to come out or anything. I still think that looks like a good year considering the turnover they have. But this is definitely a team that's going to be in the race. Next, we go to the Liberty Flames, and this is a program that's been used to contending in Conference USA, and really they're always considered the top contender because they have some of the best resources in the conference. So what happened last year was a little bit of a surprise. Liberty tanked to 4-8. That is Liberty's first losing record since they jumped to the FBS level. So we're talking about a program that jumped up, had immediate success, sustained that success, and then last year happened, and now we're looking at this, trying to see if they can make their way back up again. So that's going to be their goal this year. But Jamie Chadwell's a good coach. I really trust him, and I think this year they're going to make a lot of schematic tweaks to get back to looking more like the team that he wants to field. So I think that's going to be exciting. And of course, I mean, just looking at the roster itself, I think Liberty quietly made one of the greatest portal pickups in Kanye Udo at running back. He didn't end up getting the playing time that was expected at Arizona State last year, but the year before, he was an excellent back for Army. And I think he is going to be ready to produce once again. I'm not sure what happened at Arizona State, but this is these are the chances that you see players take that I don't think are being talked about enough. If you move to a new destination, there's always a chance that things are not going to gel. There's a lot of risk with that move, and I think a lot of players end up overlooking that. So he's going to get his chance of redemption here, but that's always like a risk to watch out for. But he's a star. I'm excited. Still, at the same time, we'll see this team with a lot of new changes, especially in the secondary. It's mostly a new unit back there, so staying sound in coverage is going to be a huge key for the Flames. And also, one of the other things that worried me a little bit was Jamie Chadwell's health in the offseason. Now, it seems like all systems go for now, but really where it worries me is that he did have to step away during the spring. So and also this year he's going to be the offensive coordinator. So that meant that the Flames went through the spring without their head coach and offensive coordinator. They had two key. He basically was 2-1 missing during that portion. So I feel like spring, while it's not the most important, it is still very important. You're starting behind the eight ball when you don't have your coach in there. So that is going to be one of the things, especially with the Jamie Chadwell team, because when the COVID year happened, Coastal Carolina was actually one of the few teams that got through their entire spring ball. Like I think only them and like one other team got through it, and I wondered if that helped them. So I now you fast forward to this year, his Liberty team has the exact opposite situation where he was not around for that. In terms of expectations and what success looks like, this is a program that has the resources to expect to compete for the CUSA title every year. So that is going to be what success looks like. But at the same time, in the same breath, I'm also going to say that I think if they at least look competitive again, I think that shows good progress and shows that okay, this is still going to work in the right direction with Jamie Chadwell. Last year was just a fluke. Everything went wrong. Now we can feel good about this program once again. So you win 8 games or so. Um, I think things still look pretty promising. Usually I look about 8-9 wins for this program because you'll usually see them that their resources scare off P4 programs from scheduling them. So usually you don't have those bye games. And next, we look at the Mid-10 State Blue Raiders. Middle Tennessee has been trying to work their way back up under Derek Mason. He brought a lot of energy, but now we need to start to see the results go on the field. And I think you have a team that has at least a pretty promising secondary, especially corner Jackson Lowe. He's a star player for the Blue Raiders. I think people need to get to know him a little bit better, but he is a guy who can lock down one side of the field. And on the opposite side, I actually think that Roman Gagliano helped kind of give this team a spark late in the year. Mitten State won a couple games late, and it was as soon as they turned to Gagliano at quarterback. So I think that's a little bit promising. Like that's something you can hold on to and go, okay, this team they got a spark. Maybe they figured things out a little bit entering this year. However, the biggest concern, and I'm sure Blue Raiders fans are not going to be surprised by this, but offensive line has been a massive problem for this team for years now. They desperately need to get better in pass protection and just avoid having sacks just stall out drives early on. Sacks and not being able to run the ball. Both of those have been fed by offensive line struggles. Now, one of the things they did this offseason to try to alleviate that, they got a lot bigger up front. So at least now in sheer size, you've got an upgrade, but they still need to gel and come together a little bit. And in terms of what success looks like, I think you need to get back to a bowl game. Sure, progress looks good. I think even 5-7 provides like a little bit of hope, but I think overall, this is year 3 under Derek Mason. We need to see this team get back to a bowl game because this is a program that's a in a big market in Nashville, and there could be some benefits to that. You can easily access a lot of resources out of being in such a good market. But at the same time, if you're struggling, you become forgotten about in that market very easily. And that's what Mid Ten State is currently battling with. So I think they need to start winning and bring some excitement back to the program a little bit. So a bowl game definitely would help with that process. Next, we look at Missouri State, the Bears. This is one of the programs that was so interesting because I feel like a lot of people, FBS and FCS alike, kind of looked at this move and wondered why are they moving up? Well, I mean, the state of Missouri is big enough that there can be two programs in the state. And Missouri State kind of has their own region in the South there in Springfield. They showed up and they had immediate success, made it to a bowl game, finished with a winning record. I think that already was a good proof of concept of this move. So that was really exciting for the Bears, and I think their fans really enjoy this move. Now they kind of enter a new era here. Ryan Beard is gone. Casey Woods takes over. He comes in from SMU. So, once again, this is going to be a team that's going to have a lot of energy. They're going to run a fast offense, and the offense is going to look good. I think you've got a lot of good parts as well. You got Robinson at receiver, you have Askren at tight end. Like, those are some really good weapons to work off of right off the bat. Like Robinson, especially, his speed is dangerous. So he is going to be a very exciting player there. But the concerns for them, it's going to be, losing the coaching staff, seeing a lot of top starters leave via the portal. A lot of them followed the staff over to Coastal Carolina. So that was kind of a tough loss a little bit. And for Missouri State, always, like, you're going to see the offensive line kind of be a concern a little bit. Last year, especially, they gave up 52 sacks, which is just an astounding number. I mean, you cut that number in half, you're still in the bottom half of college football. So they need to work on that a lot. I think establishing a better run game and really just reducing those sacks can take this team a long way. In terms of what success looks like, you're starting a new era here, so I even if they miss a bowl, I feel like as long as they're competitive and look good most of the time, I feel like you could still feel pretty good about it. But at the same time, last year kind of set that standard of making a bowl game, so making a bowl would be good. And I mean, very very encouraging considering all the changes this offseason. I think that would be very good for this program. But I don't think the panic button is going to be set if they go 5-7. We go to New Mexico State. This is one of the programs that is very much beloved on this podcast. All the way back in the NCAA 14 days, New Mexico State was always our first team in dynasty mode. I got to see them and learn about Diego Pavia in the 2022 Quick Lane Bowl. And really, I've just always loved this program. So I do tend to root for their success a little bit. Then again, I find myself rooting for every team in this conference. But New Mexico State, I think this year there's some exciting pieces to work around here. They brought in Yost, an offensive coordinator, last year to bring a better pop to this offense. It did work a little bit, but now this year you get a quarterback upgrade in Trey Hedden, the Furman transfer. You've still got some really good receivers in the fold. You got a combination of returners and some really young guys who look ready to step up and be excellent playmakers. It's going to be a pass-happy offense, and they've got a lot more pieces around it. But at the same time, I think one of the coolest transfers they brought in was Delaware State transfer James Jones, a running back. He is a threat to score from anywhere on the field. So basically, you have him in the game. And even if this team likes to throw the ball, shows the tendency to throw the ball more, James Jones is a back that the defenses have to respect. Because if they don't and they end up, running the ball, he could burn you. So, and for New Mexico State, I think that's huge to kind of have more ways to get easier points. So I'm very excited about that. And you got a few good pieces returning in the defense as well. But the biggest concern is going to be what things look like up front on the defensive line. In particular, their run defense was a little bit undersized. It got taken advantage of a lot. And there is a massive 350-pound freshman, Elijah Farr, who is the only player who is over 300 pounds on this unit. So unless he is ready to step in right away and be that guy, which I do not know if he will be, and that's a lot of pressure on the redshirt freshman for sure. But he would need to be ready to play right away to bring some size to the defensive front. Otherwise, they're going to be undersized in this unit, and some other teams can definitely take advantage of that. So that's going to be the one big thing there. And in terms of success, I think this is year 3 under Tony Sanchez. He took the program over with a lot of momentum. I wouldn't say great shape just because when he took over, Vanderbilt pretty much took their entire roster over there and won a bunch of games in the SEC, which shows how good New Mexico State was. But he kind of had to start over a little bit, and I think you're starting to see things work in the right direction. But now this year needs to be where they prove it, and proving that is a bowl game. Getting back to a bowl game would be huge for this team. Maybe getting that fourth bowl win in program history would be absolutely incredible. But in general, getting back to a bowl game is going to be the big key for New Mexico State this year. Now we go to Sam Houston, the Bearcats. And you're wondering if Phil Longo did not go as hoped, but I don't think we can be too surprised at what happened just because they were completely resetting this team. Like Phil Longo was a dramatic style change from what Casey Keeler was doing here. And of course, losing Casey Keeler hurts, lost a lot of key pieces, and things really kind of fell off as a result. So now this year is the time to try to rebound a little bit. And I think you've got some promising parts here. You've got some exciting receivers who can make plays from anywhere on the field, like Grady O'Neill and Chris Reed. And I think Landon Locke might be the answer quarterback. We saw this team finish the year really strong. They even beat Delaware with Landon Locke at quarterback. He seemed to provide a spark that Sam Houston really needed on offense. So that I think him being back and now having a full offseason as the guy is going to be huge for this offense. And they have their leading running back as well. So there's really a lot to love about the offense. However, the one concern about the offense is going to be the offensive line. This is one of the more inexperienced offensive lines in the sport. So they're going to need to gel pretty quickly. And we also need to see the defense kind of step up a little bit too, because the defensive side of the ball really took a huge step back, and they struggled to get stops at times. So they're going to need to get better at that to be more competitive in this conference. In terms of success, I mean, last year was a bit of a mess. So for this season, it's going to be progress. I think if this team can be more competitive in their games, win about 4 or 5 games, things are looking a lot better. I think at that point, the Bearcats fans can feel a lot better. And also, even with that record, you could kind of look at that and go, we feel better about where this is going under Phil Longo. I mean, last year was, kind of a lost year 0 situation. Didn't even have your home stadium. You basically played on the road every single week because they had to make even their home games were an 80-mile bus trip. So I think if you get past all of that and have at least a decent year this year, a competitive year, you're feeling a lot better. Obviously, a bowl game, making it back to a bowl would be great, but just in general, being more competitive is what this team needs to show. Now we get to the last team in the list here, Western Kentucky. And I mean, this is, I kind of hinted at it earlier, but this is one of the more steady forces in this conference. They usually end up showing up there as the conference favorite. And the question is this going to be the year they finally bring it home? So this is a Western Kentucky team under Tyson Helton. We have seen them consistently feature one of the best passing offenses in the conference. You've got an intriguing quarterback in Ronnie Tisdale, who last year he had to step in a pretty difficult situation. Injuries forced him into the lineup. And while he made those young mistakes that you'll see from a young quarterback. He did a pretty solid job considering the circumstances. Now he's had a whole offseason to work as the guy, and you've got some good pieces to work with as well. KD Hutchinson is one of the star receivers in this conference. So you've got a lot to like there. On the other side, the one of the concerns is going to be especially just kind of a lot of new parts. Like they're good parts. Like they have a lot of pretty talented portal players coming in, a lot of additions that I really like personally. But you always run a risk when you're bringing in so many new parts. So all of that needs to come together for the Hilltoppers in order to reach their expectations, which I think for them, they're looking for this to be the year they finally take home the CUSA title. I mean, Tyson Helton has, I think outside of the weird COVID year, he has won 8 or 9 games every year. His teams are so good, so consistent. But the one thing they have not done is bring home that CUSA title. So that is going to be, I think, their big goal this year is to finally get that. And we'll see if they can. But I think in terms of this conference, and this now gets us to the sleeper pick. I think my sleeper for this conference is going to be Delaware. I really think with what they bring back in the offense and all of that, like I think this team could be right there in the mix and definitely is a strong candidate to be that second year CUSA program to win the conference and make it a third year in a row of that. So that's my sleeper pick there. If you consider Delaware too much of a contender, I'll even throw out New Mexico State as potentially a longer shot that could be better this year. But Delaware's a team I think is very promising. But in terms of my CUSA title pick, this is going to be I think somewhat of a lame pick, but maybe not because I haven't seen a lot of people pick this. I have Jack State over Western Kentucky. I feel like that's a lame pick because a lot of people probably have this as the conference championship game, but I'm going to pick Jack State to win the conference. I really like what this team has back. That offensive line I mentioned before is going to be a huge key. So give me the Gamecocks to win the conference over Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky falls just short once again, but I really like what Jacksonville State has. So this is your look at Conference USA. This was kind of a little shorter preview, giving you a look at what we can expect from this conference this year. It's going to be a fun, exciting race. Make sure you tune in to all of their games this year because it is going to be very fun to watch. And again, this was at like a higher level, so be sure to check our Substack for even more in-depth previews of these teams. This is a look at them kind of at a higher view and more of a prediction at the end kind of show. But thank you for tuning in. Be sure to follow us on social media. Be sure to tune in, like, subscribe, and leave a review if you're listening or watching us. And thank you for tuning in.